The year I was 5, Mom and Daddy and I moved across the highway from Haw Creek and built a house. Now, Mama was a botanist and her thumb was green all the way up to her shoulder, but Daddy was a different kind of fellow. He was more of a mechanical and engineering bent. Mother determined to populate our acre with multi-purpose conifers, Christmas trees, beautifully decorated, lit, and displayed in the big picture window in the living room, and then following the season, taken outside to thrive in the yard. The last weekend in October, she and I would travel out to Mills River to Jesse Israel's nursery, and there we would walk the fields with him, talking about the new cultivars and picking and tagging our Christmas tree. Then, the first weekend in December, Daddy and I would go out in the Ford truck back to Jesse's, and we would bring home the 100-pound balled and burlap spruce. While we were gone, Mother would be in the kitchen. She would be employing our other Christmas tradition, making the goodies for us. She would make sugar cookies in various shapes with different kinds of icings, colorful, with silver shot and with sprinkles. She would make fudge, some with nuts, some without, and then she would make a lovely fruit cake, tenderly wrapped in cheesecloth, soaked in brandy, reposing in its tin until Christmas Eve. And she never forgot Daddy's favorite, the walnut divinity, light and airy and melted in your mouth. Also, we would go to the Asheville Christmas Parade. It formed up down around the fire department, circled Pack Square, marched down Patton Avenue, executed a sharp right turn at Pritchard Park, and swept up Haywood Street. Leading the parade came a long line of big red monsters. They were belching diesel fumes, and they were emitting all kinds of screams and shrieks and belches and burp. Hanging on atop these monsters were the firefighters and their families, and they flung down craft caramels, baby candy canes, and pennies down onto the onlookers. We all tried to scramble in the gutters to go after the money, but Mother always deterred me by reaching into her purse and handing me a quarter. Following the monsters came clowns, dressed in all kinds of fanciful satin outfits with ruffles and big black glossy buttons. Their faces were painted to display every possible human emotion. One of them appeared to be 7 foot tall. That day my vocabulary was augmented by the word stilts, and this tall being was leading by a long leash a teeny tiny little chihuahua, also dressed in a satin ruff with sparkles, and its little legs moving so fast to keep up with the long strides of the stilts. Other clowns circling and somersaulting and doing backflips back and forth across the street. Some of them had little donkeys, and one of them had a large black and white goat, its flat black eyes scanning the pavement back and forth, looking for contraband. And on came the floats and the beautiful, up-to-date convertibles that held young women dressed and shivering and shoulderless formal gowns. Oh, they were cold, but they still managed to smile and to wave cheerily at all of us. And they represented every possible crop that was grown in the western region. So there was a queen of corn, and there was a princess of rhododendron. Then came the horse riders. Oh, how exciting. Beautiful and exciting enough to thrill the most avid western lover. They were dressed in outfits that rivaled Dale and Roy Rogers and even Hopalong Cassidy. They sat atop beautifully groomed steeds with flowing manes and tails on hand-tooled leather saddles with chased silver adornments on them. So exciting. Now and then, one would sidle over to the curb, and with a flourish of his hat, the rider and the horse would both bow to the onlookers, and then they would trot on down the street to greet other parade watchers. Now came the most fanciful part of all, the marching bands from high schools all over western North Carolina. Majorettes out in front with their little short pants and their high cowboy boots with tassels, flinging batons up into the air and catching them with extreme skill. Oh, how exciting that was, and we all wanted to be like them when we grew up. The percussion sections pounded in our chests, and we waited breathlessly for the finest band of them all. We craned our necks up the street, and here they came, the high steppers of Stevens Lee High School. Oh, they were tapping out a tantalizing tattoo to Jingle Bells, Jingle Bells, a rhythm and blues adaptation we'd never heard, but somehow we just loved it. And then bringing up the rear of the parade, about 2 hours after the beginning, came Santa. He was in a sleigh. There were jumping and flying reindeer on the float that propelled him down the street. His ho-ho-hos were magnified by a PA system, and all of Asheville heard his happy greeting. The next morning, when the year I was 9, Mother said to Daddy, "John, I think I'm going to let you select our tree this year, and I have planted all the spruce I want to." The yard at that time was filled with Serbians and Colorado blues, with Norway spruce and with Engelmanns. And Mother said, "This year, for our last tree, it's going to be the Cadillac of the Christmas tree tray, the Fraser fir." Oh, it was an exquisite plant. Soft limbs and velvety green needles, soft and silky, and with that green resinous sticky Christmas smell. Oh, it was the very perfect Christmas tree. So Mama wrote down on a paper the perfect specifications. Just the right correlation between terminal and skirt, and 6 to 7 foot high. She handed the paper to Daddy, who smiled and folded it into his wallet. He took me aside and gave me a $20 bill. And he said, "Now tomorrow when you and Mama finish making the goodies and you go uptown to shop, I want you to get her a nice present." Well, the next morning we were up early, Daddy filling the house with the spiky and soft smell of French toast and frying bacon. He had been up early. He had brought down the boxes of Christmas tree lights for the outside of the house and laid them in the yard. He smiled to me and said, "When you and Mama come back from shopping, your tree will be in the living room." Oh, we were so excited. The beautiful Fraser fir, we could not wait. So Daddy went off to do the tree shopping, and Mama and I made goodies. Oh, we made the cookies, and we made pecan fudge. We made the lovely fruit cake. The house smelled so good of warm spices and brandy, and then we made the lightest, most delicious walnut divinity ever. Oh, Daddy was going to love it as it melted in his mouth. Then we went uptown, and we began our shopping in Ivy's, and then we went to John Carroll's, and then across the street to Bon Marché. Oh, the outside display windows were a wonderland. In one of them, there was a miniature conifer forest populated by brown, fuzzy bears, little teddy bears the size of children, and they were dressed in red velvet vests with ruffles and sparkles, and they were dancing and kicking and bowing to each other and bowing to us to the strings of "It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas." Oh, how exciting, how exciting. We were propelled in through the front doors by whoosh of warm air and the perfumes that emanated from the counters. Oh, every possible smell that there was, good smells. I looked about, and there were fanciful displays everywhere and mannequins dressed in sumptuous holiday finery. I went over to the Charles of the Ritz counter, and my $20 bill bought Mama a tall, stately bottle of hand lotion while she pretended to browse the glove counter. I whirled and spun, looking at all the sights in the store, and Mama had to admonish me, "Now, ladies, don't gape." We left Bon Marché, fortified ourselves with hot vegetable soup and a grilled cheese at the Woolworth's lunch counter, and then marched back up Patton Avenue to the man's store. Mama bought Daddy a new camel's hair overcoat, and she slipped me $20 that bought him a lovely silk tie. On our way home, we stopped at Buck's Drive-In, my father's favorite, and got carry-out for him. Oh, we swept in through the kitchen door, all excited, our eyes aglow with the presents we had bought and with the goodies we'd made that morning, the house still smelling so wonderful, and so excited to see the new beautiful tree. Mama tapped on the living room door. "Oh, John, may we come in?" she trilled. "Just a moment," said Daddy. "I'm turning on the light." The light? I thought. And then in just a second, the French doors burst open to my father's proud, smiling face. "Oh, come in, my dears, and see your Christmas tree," he bowed and swept his hand in invitingly. We stepped into the living room, and there was silence. There was silence. And then, with a great whoosh, my mother sucked all the oxygen out of the room. We looked toward the window. Where were the soft bouncing limbs, the glowing lights, the hand-blown German glass ornaments? Oh, where were the red-feathered cardinals and the globes whose surface reflected the beauty of the whole living room? Oh, where was the china angel, delicate and lacy, that topped the tree? Not to be seen. In the window, on Mama's hand-embroidered tree skirt, on a stand reposed a 4-foot naked metal rod. 16 limbs, metal rods, 4 to a quadrant, spun out from the central terminal, and at the ends of them were these exploded aluminum rosettes. Hanging from the limbs dismally were tiny little plastic balls. There was a color wheel sitting on the floor, grinding away. Primary colors of yellow and green and red and blue washed over my mother's elegant rose and ivory and blue living room. The color wheel was grinding away to the tunes from the stereo of "Oh Christmas tree, oh Christmas tree, how lovely are your branches." Mother looked at Daddy, Daddy looked at Mother. Expressions of dismay filled the room. Oh, John, she croaked out, it's not a real tree. She spun on her heels and tilted and twirled all the way back into the kitchen, touching base with the door jambs and every piece of furniture in her way. She sank into a chair at the kitchen table and proceeded to emit a series of sounds that my father described discreetly as a dying calf in a hailstorm under a tin roof. With a flick of her wrist, she set the china platter of divinity in a graceful 4-foot arc to go smash into the garbage can. My Siamese cat, startled, leaped up from her basket, pirouetted, went airborne, and sailed around the corner into the kitchen, where she connected with a huge crash with the color wheel. She picked herself up and flung herself through the other door into the hall to be lost in the far reaches of the house. The color wheel, now mortally injured, on its side on the carpet, was sawing and hawing to the gentle sounds of "Oh, Holy Night." The year I was 36, Mama and Daddy and I sat on the broad front porch of the log home I had built in southern Haywood County. Stretching out below us, shimmering in the late October sun and shining and spangling with the tags of buyer's stickers, were 2 of the 9 acres of Fraser fir I had set 6 years before. Pointing to an elegant 8-foot beauty on the corner of the field, my mother tapped my dad on the arm and she said, "Look, John, look, that is a real Christmas tree."